been warning about it for quite a while. I have mentioned and I have been trying to influence and tell people that fraud is going to happen. Why? Because Democrat Party has been pushing mail-in ballot, taking the reason of coronavirus. And
Yeah.
to me, it didn't really jive well. I'll tell you why. Because for the last few months, you have seen BLM activities and the Antifa BLM coalition
Yeah.
rioting that is going on throughout United States. There was no from all the democratic cities, there was no restriction on riotings, and protest is okay but rioting is not. And these authorities were allowing it to happen, basically taking the narrative that the cause is President Trump somehow.
Yeah.
So they were trying to destroy their own neighborhood, own county, own country in order to blame somebody just for the greed and power to go to White House. To me, that is a massive amount of corruption. Now, it doesn't happen without funding, without organization, without back of a big oligarch of the world.
Yeah.
So to answer your question very shortly, it was to happen. We should have expected it. And President Trump also warned that mail-in ballot is a fraud system. Now, if these rioters could go in bulk to riot and vandalize and loot and
Mm.
burn, why couldn't have they stand in line for voting?
Yeah.
To me, that's a pretty basic question. Another question, though, something to think about is when the big stores like Walmart, Myers, Costco are open, and people are going there for shopping 2 hours, 3 hours. They shop and then stand in line, maintain distance, vote, and then come back. So what is the problem in voting centers then? Then the third issue comes from a mail-in ballot perspective. This is extremely new. So there was no back-end process to make sure the integrity of the system and the process itself. And to begin to add to the chaos is USPS, which is going to process millions of ballots.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, you saw, I don't know if you've seen, so USPS had a deadline on election day 3 p.m. EST to sweep their facilities, and they missed the deadline. They said they couldn't do it, and that hundreds of thousands of ballots missed scanning. And for the, I think based on their statement on election day, it was about 300,000 ballot actually missed delivery scans. You can think about the massive amount of operation that is going on. And add to this, USPS endorsed Joe Biden and Harris. What's going to happen?
Yeah.
You know that massive corruption is about to happen.
Oh,
The unfortunate thing, it's not, I'm not surprised at all. I've seen the signs, I've warned them, and obviously it was so crucial for the election commission to impose that kind of systems like body cams and cameras everywhere. Right now you drop in coolers are coming out and going, ballot boxes are getting dropped off in the wee hour of the morning. There's
yeah.
no cameras. How do you verify? And they're wearing masks and stuff. How do you verify? So even if we go into a legal battle right now, which we must, how do you prove is going to be quite challenging at this point? And I think it's as a country, as you mentioned, it is quite disappointing that oldest democracy of this world literally shattered in a moment. This election was the point of no
Yeah.
return. I told about it. I'm not surprised. It's just that I'm disappointed in United States of America. Coming from India, we have seen this corruption. We have seen
Yeah.
this corruption.
Yeah. I mean, the thing about it from my perspective, Purnima, is it almost feels like the United States democracy has been broken in the past 48 hours. It's been broken by the Democrat Party, their allies in the media, because the media has been unbelievably bad. Fox News, probably worst of all. Which
Yes.
so I think actually American democracy seem so bad. But I wanted to put up I've got a couple of things I wanted to share on screen with you. I'd be interested in what you reckon to this one. So here's a couple of because the media insists there's been no cheating. The media are certain about that. So I wanted to ask you. I'll just bring this up. You can see that there, hopefully, on the screen, Purnima. This was a tweet that was sent out by Corey Bernardi, and it lists a number of people who were voting. The interesting thing be that the youngest is 120, the oldest is 150. Jason Daniel, and this was in Michigan. Jason Daniel was voting age 150. Isn't that so impressive that a 150-year-old is so motivated by Joe Biden, by Sleepy Joe, that even at that grand old, come on, this is third world stuff, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, I can say, I'll tell you one example. India has 1.38 billion people. An election happens every few months, you'll hear something going on. In fact, there's election going on right now in Bihar. And suddenly it feels like a country with 1.38 billion people was once upon a time, it used to be called as a third world country. I want you to understand that the massive changes in India.
Oh, yeah.
It's no longer a third world country. It's going to be
Right.
so. It's in the neck and neck with America, whether America wants to believe it or not. They don't need America. We have the people, we have the technology, we have the billions of years of teachings and the culture. It's going to take us forward, and I'm pretty confident about it. Now, coming back to the election, in Bihar election, how much have you heard about it? And even our country in India was so much of massive corruption that used to happen before. Things have changed now, and they can manage automatic counting. It's so unfortunate and so sad to see America with massive amount of resources, technological advancement, capital. They're unable to manage a few thousands of ballots.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
it's a sad situation here. It's not even centralized. Every county is divided. They are counting from bottom up. It's not centralized. So if anybody is voting, you don't even know whether they are dead or not. So to answer your question, how do you know if the person is dead or not? But there's no validation over there. If they have the mailing ballot, they're just filling it up for mom, dad, somebody who lived in here for the 15 years or 20 years, and they're voting.
But I mean, when it comes to the actual counting of the votes, I mean, we saw this, for example. This was, you may have seen this one in Philadelphia. They've got their Joe Biden masks on. There's no way those people are in any way going to be neutral, are they? This is partisan.
Well, it's election. Everybody should vote, and you have a partisan interest anyway. I understand that, but at the polling booth, this is a fraud. At the polling booth, and there is rules. I believe it's like 100 meter or 100 feet or something like that. There should not be any kind of signs. Or it has to be spread across. People cannot campaign within that vicinity. And I've also seen pictures came through. Somebody was actually giving out literature within the vicinity in the accounting area. That tells you exactly what they're trying to do. This is a fraud, and I hope these two people, and plus I'm sure there is more, they do get prosecuted. I would like to know whether they're going to be locked up or not. This is wrong. This is just massive amount of fraudulent activity happening right here in front of our eyes, and if we are shut right now, we are pretty much doomed.
I agree. I mean, did you see this one, Purnima? This also was, I'll just flick this up.
Yes, Trump ballots.
Military ballots found in the trash in Pennsylvania, and they were apparently, as one would expect, Trump votes.
Yes.
I mean, it's almost beyond words. I don't know what to say about stuff like that.
I can tell you as somebody who's born in India and heard unheard of and painful stories, I can tell you this is not unheard of for us. That is why we want. That is why I brought. We
Yeah.
try to make sure that people understand the gravity of the situation. In India, we have seen stories like people would go vote, and then even just for security purpose, their thumb is going to be cut off too, for not for revoting, or even for
Yeah.
the situations are like how they're going to go sabotage poll booths, how they're going to be changing in the middle of the night. They're simply just going to change the vote in the middle of the night. They're going to intimidate, threaten
Yeah.
voters, and opposition party is going to literally throw bombs and burn houses in villages because of election. We have seen this, and unfortunately, this is happening over here
It is.
in the United States, and it's hurting me. It's hurting the entire community today. And what we're seeing today, I'll tell you a tweet I just did just a few minutes back. Ayatollah Khamenei has said about democracy. His point was, oh, one is saying it's cheating, another is also saying it's cheating. Think about it. Iran, Twitter is banned, Facebook is banned, and these entire big techs are working with them to influence U.S. election.
Yes,
Uh,
I agree.
in the Senate hearing, Twitter Jack Dorsey, I actually call him Dork Dorsey, said that it's important to hear world leader like Ayatollah Khamenei. But what about in his own country? These people don't have the rights to even talk about anything.
I know.
So you see the massive gang, collaborative gang is against a democracy. It's same thing is
Well,
happening in India.
yeah. Well, I want to get into that because I think that's a really important area that you've raised, Purnima. But again, just a couple of these little snapshots because, as I say, I thought it was going okay up until a point where, in a certain of the swing states, the polling stopped. They stopped it, didn't they? And
Yes.
then we saw stuff like, I'm going to put this up for the viewers and for you as well to have a look at. This was in Wisconsin, and this is just looking at the voter turnout. So you can see that in Wisconsin, 2020, Purnima, almost 90% of voters turned out to vote for Sleepy Joe. And we've seen this in other states and other specific areas, levels approaching 100%. And 100% turnout, well, anyone, I mean, I've stood for election, you stood for election, people watching this, some of them may have stood for election. If you get 50, 60%, you're probably doing okay. 70% is really unusual, and above that's exceptional. The levels that we've seen are abnormal. They're not statistically recognizable. So to me, as someone's put up in the stream here, this is cheating in plain sight, isn't it? This
Yes,
is in your face.
there is as I told you, I'm not surprised. You are surprised, but I'm not surprised. I have seen the signs before. Now look at from a perspective of just rally itself
Yeah,
in Milwaukee. You're talking about Wisconsin. In
yeah,
Milwaukee, just a few days before the election, Milwaukee County executive, which is the position that I ran for,
yes,
now is it's a Democrat who won, who was a representative, actually state representative who won that. They actually canceled the rally just one day before also of the election. They approved Joe Biden's rally. But think about it from a perspective. Trump's rally would have thousands of people waiting in line for hours and hours to get in there.
yeah, yeah,
And in Biden rally, they said we inquired, and they said it was only 12 people in the airport coming. Now I think about it from a optics perspective. They cancels Trump rally in Milwaukee, which is a very key area, which is part of Wisconsin, as you see.
yeah,
Voter fraud was supposed to happen and was happening. We were seeing the signs already. Unfortunately, the measurements were not taken. For example, upgrading the systems,
yeah,
making sure that any dead people are automatically rejected, upgrading the systems to make sure this it's centralized enough to make sure that the tally is correct automatically. You don't have to stop counting. It never happened. Which election you stop counting? And when we are talking about such a contentious election at this point, you just stop voting in the middle of the night, and in morning suddenly your vote changes, the counting changes. So why is it not a fraud? We have to challenge it, and Trump has
yeah.
to fight it.
Oh, I completely agree with you. I mean, I kind of feel sick about this. I feel sick to this to my heart because I think we're seeing the republic itself, the United States, which is a republic. Remember, that's right. It's not a democracy; it's a republic. That republic is now under threat in a way which, to be honest, Purnima, I think probably some of us did see all the signs and we did see what was coming. But even in my darkest hour, I never thought it would be this. But I didn't think we'd have Twitter. For example, today, Twitter has, I think, censored at least 2 or 3 tweets from the president.
Oh no, I took a screenshot not too long ago. All of them. Specifically, I think I took a screenshot of like 4 or 5 at least from Twitter. They're silencing. They're trying to silence his voice. There's no likes. It's not getting distributed unless you go into his Twitter and take a look at what he said. So in Google, the largest monopoly of the world, they are also silencing distribution of information. So I am worried about the big techs in terms of how much leverage they have to swing this. And you are right, absolutely right. And it's quite sickening as to we flew India to come to a best country in the world. Unfortunately, we end up seeing the corruption is here. And I'll tell you something. As person born in India came to United States. Yesterday, somebody named Davina Singh was arrested in New York for spitting and saying F word, fascist on a police officer. Did get, and I looked at the picture. I knew it was a South Asian woman. I did ask in Twitter who she is. She looks like an Indian, Pakistani, Bangladeshi, one of her. What's her name? And today I found out her name is Davina Singh. Who is she? She's Sikh American, born over here in the United States. Suddenly she's, it hurts me as an Indian. It hurts me as an Indian that, and then I say too, you brought third world problem over here. You're going to have third world issues. You have to reform the immigration. The Joe Biden saying 700% increase of refugee settlement over here. What is this country? Is this a country anymore?
Well, I agree. I absolutely agree. This is for me why I think this is going to be the next month, 2 months is pivotal to the very future of the United States, because if Biden manages to steal the White House, and this is what people on the stream need to understand. I know some of you think that Biden's going to get in because he's obviously mentally decrepit. He's only got if he lasts a year, I'll be surprised. Kamala gets in, but she's a puppet as well. She's a puppet of the same people behind Biden. These are the people that will suddenly all the dreamers, all the, what is it? How many millions?
DACA. I mean, they have said 20 million illegal voters.
Yeah, it's massive. It's massive. If they get the vote, that's it. The Republicans will never occupy the White House again. This, folks, is why this is so serious. This is going to turn the U.S. into Venezuela, because Biden's clear on it. The energy, the independence which President Trump fought for and achieved, and all those jobs, they're all going to go. Actually, for me, I put this one out earlier today on social media. The winner of the election for me is Xi Jinping in China, because
absolutely,
sorry, just to finish, Purnima, and that's going to have consequences even for India, actually in the UK as well, but India particularly. So it's really bad. It's just bad.
See, Trump just put out a statement not too long ago. He did win with legal votes.
Yes.
But if it is illegal votes and deads are voting, this election is stolen already. We know that. And that's the saddest moment for United States. As I told before, I have been telling this country is in a fight to save her soul. And it's a point of no return. It falls off of Donald Trump, it's over. You mentioned this country is going to Venezuela. I'm thinking even worse. It is going to be not just China, but Irani, Pakistani. That's what's going to happen. Fascism, anarchism. You cannot talk about your rights. What rights you're going to talk about when you're going to be beheaded? Tell me. You just,
Yeah.
I mean, this is after what happened in Paris.
Oh,
And
absolutely right. And actually, Purnima, we saw the Squad got themselves all re-elected, and they hate America. I mean, they're kind of blatant about it. What sort of people are voting for them?
well, here is the thing. You saw what's happening. Project Veritas found
Yeah.
out ballot harvesting in Ilhan Omar's district. How much is it going to go and win in the legal battle? We have to see. But we have tremendous amount of influence from Clinton foundations, the mess that they have created, plus the Obama cabal, and what we have seen for the last 4 years. It was, at the end of the day, it was to literally oust Trump from his seat so they can take over. So it doesn't matter what they do. It doesn't matter whether they take a label of humanity, racism. It's funny because they kept saying racist, Trump is racist, but you see the voting poll came out in terms of how well President Trump has done with women, Black American.
Yes.
So how come he's a racist? How come he's a xenophobic? He hasn't caused any war. He in fact caused a peace in the world, and the most conflicted zone of the world for generations. He's trying his best, and he got no Nobel Prize. The entire media is against him. The Democrat Party is against him. The
Yeah.
school boards are against him. They're indoctrinating children to hate America. So it all comes down to this point. Comes down to this point of a takeover of America through an election system, which is a farce to me, and literally established one party system. It's no
Yep.
longer a democracy at this point.
Yeah.
It's a massive amount of fraud.
Do you know? I completely agree with you. I think what we're seeing though, it's so blatant. Like there's so many falsities. For example, you just mentioned the fact that it's clear that President Trump got more Latinos, more blacks, for example, voting for him than any, I think, in what 60 years, I believe. So how can it be? So we're being asked to believe two things which are not compatible. We can't first of all understand that more black people have voted for President Trump than in 60 years. And at the same time, what the Democrats are telling us is, and this is insane, that more blacks have voted for Joe Biden than voted for Obama.
Yeah,
Come
that's
on.
just that's why the data, we have to fight legal battle right now, because if, as I said, look at the enthusiasm of this guy who did the Joe Biden won no debates before he was nominated. Think about the situation. He was in every debate. He was not the winner. Bernie Sanders was. Kamala Harris herself was not a winner, so she dropped off.
Right.
So today we look at if somebody who won no debate is the nominee of the party, then you have somebody who's implanted like Kamala Harris, who's phoniest of the phony, worst of Hillary Clinton, Obama point
Yes.
2.0. And then we look at these, both are trying to rule this country based on what? Based on globalism, based on destroying this country. And we must understand from our history. Look at the dynasty in India, Congress dynasty India. What did they do? They played massive amount of frauds on Hindus. They played division game, appeasement game, feet washing game. I call them, feet washing privileged elites. Playing appeasement games. Unfortunately, we are seeing that over here. This is what's happening just for the vote bank. They want to register the illegal voter. What about us who pay taxes, who stay here legally? We're not burning anything. We're not saying America is bad. We're not saying America is racist. We're not saying America, must be dismantled. The ones who's causing that, calling that, are getting elected. To you asked who's voting for them. These informations are getting suppressed in those districts, in those areas. So how are they going to know what's the truth? So if you want to know how are they getting elected, because there are forces behind them to suppress those information.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have in Facebook and Twitter, you have the content managers who are Islamist, content managers who are with BLM, Marxist. So why wouldn't they vote for the Marxist? They're the one who's voting. They don't know anything better. Are you still there, David? David, you still there?
We are back. We are back.
There we go. There we go.
We're back. Sorry about that. I blame the Russians. I mean, we have to blame somebody for Nima.
There is no Russians. It's only Democrats. I can tell you that they're hacking all the systems. They are so powerful.
Yeah. So I mean, the difficulty. So the difficulties we really have, Purnima, is that I know people are talking about the remaining states, Arizona, Georgia. It's my view. I don't know what you think. I reckon the cheating will happen in those states as well, and I believe Biden will get them. I'm not sure if he's going to get Pennsylvania. It's more debatable, but I don't see Trump. He can win them legally. He can't win anything illegally, but Biden can. Isn't that true?
Yeah, I mean, we Republicans, I don't think, I mean, see, I can come from perspective of mine. I have not seen Republicans go in a group and vandalizing and rioting and burning and looting. This is all left-wing militia, Antifa and BLM activists. So unfortunately, Republicans don't work like that, and we Hindus also don't work like that, and that's probably why I align with the Republican Party more so than Democrats' silly policies. So their working styles are very similar. Just like Hindus don't really confront and they hate confronting, so they kind of step back and just let the abusers do whatever, because just they don't want to get into conflict. That mentality doesn't really work. And I tell Republicans must play their game right now. This is a fraudulent election. They should have prepared to catch them red-handed right then and there, because these should have been implemented. The cameras should have been implemented. The USPS should have been guarded more. These guys who took an silly excuse that facilities didn't have one or two security guards, so they can't sweep the facilities. So now we are looking at thousands of ballots whose delivery scans are not there, meaning they're going to hand date them and basically post date back date for the election day. This is what's going to. This is what's coming. This is coming. And
did you hear the story about the watermarks? Is that real or not? I'm trying to work out. Have the ballots got a watermark on them, which would mean that presumably fraudulent ones mightn't have? Is that right? What's your take on that?
That's what I've heard. We have also seen information coming through how the ballots are going to be. Now it looks like anything is okay, because some ballots were sent out through email. Some were just literally printed out. I worked on the election day in Milwaukee County to process ballots. There were some witnesses. Some ballot came through witnesses from Japan. I mean, what is it? Is it like a military ballot? What is it? I mean, to me, the whole aspect of entire process is quite dubious. Bunch of ballot came through. I stayed there until midnight. I stayed there for Milwaukee time, 12:30. What happened afterwards, I have no clue. Yeah. I mean, we came and found out that there was 100,000 ballots, suddenly was added for Biden's name in the counties overall from a Wisconsin perspective. To me, this is if concerning process, the entire process was not mapped out, not verified. There is no validity, and today these
Yeah.
Trump supporters are being blocked from even watching. The poll watchers are not allowed and stop. You see what's happening over here. It I mean, in order to describe the how do I describe that? In order to describe the situation, the gravity of this election, I can't even compare to India at this point. I can tell you this used to happen in third world countries. Now this is happening over here. India is better than America at this point. In Bihar, they're going to say, look at this. If corruption comes, it's like United States of America.
Mm.
That's shameful.
I
That's
agree.
shameful.
I agree. In actual fact, where I live here in Northern Ireland, we had a serious problem with postal votes. And postal votes were used by one particular demography. And they were, and again, we had the same thing, Purnima. The dead voted. It was a going joke. We talked about the fact that the dead would vote. And turnouts were always remarkably high in those areas. We've seen it in London, in places like London, in Tower Hamlets, in the centre of London. Again, unbelievable levels of election fraud, and these are always leftist areas. Isn't it strange? Isn't it strange that election fraud, postal bubble fraud, it's always the left. It's never the right.
It's not strange to me because I have seen and I've been saying wherever you find a communist, Marxist, and leftist, you will find anarchy, crimes, poverty, and frauds and corruption. I've been saying that bluntly for quite a while right now.
Yeah.
Just take an example, India for instance, 74 years of independence. 1.38 billion people, 68 to 70% under poverty. It was ruled by Congress, Dynasty, and CPIM, which is Communist Party of India, Marxist. These are the major parties who ruled India for 74 years. If communists and Marxists are for equality, are for erasing poverty, tell me how couldn't have they erased poverty, 70% poverty in the one of the largest, second largest country in the world? Just tell me that. Answer me that.
It's
Because
impossible.
it's a farce.
Yeah, it is. But here's the real problem. If Biden, so if he does get in, and I mean the most recent statistic I've been able to dig out, I'm not sure what it's saying with you, Purnima, but here we go. Biden's sitting in 253, Trump's in 214. So he's awful close to the 270. So if he gets to 270, that's the electoral college, isn't it? And so
here is the problem. Problem is Fox News and some of those media giant houses are not increasing or giving the credit to President Trump to show this is working, and they're really trying to hit hard on the psychological basis. I'll tell you why. Because the more you see these statistics, you automatically feel discouraged.
Yeah.
You feel like Trump is losing.
Yes.
You don't know anything about it because most of the some of these battleground states like Wisconsin, Trump is going to fight for recount. Pennsylvania, we are already fighting.
Yeah.
They got the court order that they can view, but when they went into the polling station, they were blocked. Anyway, so what's the point? What's happening over here? It's a mess. It's a really shady business Democrats are involved in, and they're going to pay a heavy price for it. Now, so these statistics that you see, it's a lie. It's a prediction. It's not reality. But the more you see this, the more you think this is the truth. So that is the game Democrats are trying to play right now.
Yeah, and actually, I have to say, it's one of the reasons why I've done my best over the past 48 hours to stay away from all legacy mainstream media, because it's poison, it's anti-Trump, it's part of the swamp, it's part of the problem. I consider it just as poisonous as Silicon Valley.
Yes.
And I mean, Fox in particular, actually, Purnima, like they played such a an atrocious role by, for example, refusing to call Florida for President Trump hours after it became obvious that he'd won it. In other cases, suggesting that Biden was going to win to discourage Trump voters. So you're right. There's a psychological war being waged even in the past 48 hours. Isn't that right?
Yes, absolutely. Because here's the thing, right? If the Trump voters are discouraged and feel like they're already losing, without just thinking about it, just looking at the statistics like blaring in front of your eyes, they're not going to go protest. They're not going to go fight. That is what they're trying to do. They're already trying to steal the election. President is fighting alone, almost feels like, for last 4 years. I want, if anybody is listening, or any elected officials, senators and Republican House Congress person, where is your voice? I want you guys to fight. You are there to fight for the country, aren't you? I see them. There's no statements from them. Entire statements are coming from President Trump and his campaign. So I don't know what's happening behind the scene, if they're supporting or not, what's going on. To me, this is a red flag. These are red flags. These are something that, what we have heard for the last few years, the rhinos in Republican Party who looks like or wants to take all the advantage that President Trump is providing, take the name out of it. But at the end of the day, they don't want to support President Trump. And we are so disappointed in the Republican Party also. We need to be aggressive. I have been saying that Republican Party is completely acting non-confrontational. We have to confront right now. And President Trump looks like he's fighting alone, and we need to fight. You saw the fraud. We are here. One of the things you mentioned, you tried to stay away from the media, but I want to ask you a question. Can you truly stay away from the media?
Not entirely.
Exactly. You can't. No matter what. So there are 7 media sources. They said they're going to talk about, whether AP, Fox, and etc. like that, CBS, ABC, etc. like CNN. Unfortunately, if their bias is so anti-Trump, how do you think that they're going to even portray anything pro-Trump? They're not. They're not unbiased media outlets, right?
Oh,
you can't get away from it. Now, at the same time,
No, just to say, just to emphasize your point, I think I'm right in saying that the former Republican House leader, Paul Ryan, he sits on the board of Fox News, and Ryan is a never Trumper. So, hang on a second. Here we've got a never Trumper sitting on the board of Fox. So, honestly, is anybody surprised?
Oh, well, we have Donna Brazil in there, who, her history, giving out debate questions to Hillary Clinton for our viewers to understand. The level of massive corruption is here. Sometimes we didn't know, this information didn't come out at that time. Now, they all are aligned. It almost feels like the devils are aligned with the good people against the good people. But good always wins. I do think Trump has tremendous amount of energy. He came out within a day or so out of the hospital as a corona and been constantly campaigning. How many campaign rallies did Biden had with the weird circles over there? Think about it.
I do. Yeah, but I mean, that's the other unbelievable bit. All of us, even here in the UK, we saw the rallies. We saw Trump with the tens of thousands, the enthusiasm. We saw all that. And then we seen Sleepy Joe with his, as you say, half a dozen people standing in these little circles. Yes. And yet we're being asked to believe, and this is where we stand right now as we speak, that he's brought out the biggest number of people ever to vote.
It's a fraud. It's a fraud. And there's no way to explain the statistics, as you showed, 89 to 90% voter turnout in Wisconsin alone. Possible. It never happened. It's impossible.
Yeah. And yet the media, but this is your point, Purnima, but the media is blaming Trump. They're saying, look at Trump. He's actually standing in the way of democracy. Look at him. He won't accept the will of the people. That's what the media is saying, though, isn't it?
But that's the problem. The problem is that the big media, I call them mafia, and the big tech mafia, they
Yeah.
have everything under control. What information to suppress? As you saw, Biden's laptop from hell.
Oh yeah.
There was no communication. New York Post was locked in Twitter for almost 2 weeks. It was unlocked just one day before, 1 or 2 days before election. Look at the massive amount of uh, the leverage they have. They have been able to delete pages, pro-Trump pages with 30-40,000 likes and information. So anything you put, the reach is going to be at least 100,000. They have been suppressing Trump and conservative voices for a long time. So this was happening. This was to happen. We knew when
Mm.
the entire impeachment was a fast game.
Yep.
Mueller was part of the deep state
Yep.
swamp, and Hillary Clinton paid to create the dossier. FBI is part of it. What is not to think about that FBI is not going to investigate any of this? They are part of the swamp themselves, unfortunately. So
Mm.
anybody who's going to be talking about truth, they are silencing, they are suppressing. You, I, we are labeled. So we know this is coming. Now we have to make a choice. Are we going to stand with the truth or not?
Yeah. Well, yeah, you're right. And this is, I think, what defines so many people like you and me, and I think a lot of the people who watch us in this, Purnima. We understand this isn't about right versus left. This is about right versus wrong. This is about good versus evil. I mean, it's that fundamental, and it sounds corny when you say it like that. But honestly, if people are going to lie straight to your face and on the back of a lie change the very future for all those millions who legally voted for President Trump, I mean that needs challenged. And do you think that this will go to the Supreme Court? And
Yes.
do you think that the recent appointment of Amy Coney Barrett, do you think that's going to be significant? How do you think that's going to
See,
play
the
out?
whole idea is to make sure there was a odd number in the Supreme Court, and the process that was we went through as a country was not illegal or illegitimate as Chuck
Mhm.
Schumer and the Democratic Party labeled it. It was the process. Now think about it. If we had 8 Supreme Court judges, and it was balanced, only just eight of them. If the votes were 4-4, you won't have any idea as to how to go with proper judgment from a
Yeah,
court perspective, which is what's happening in Pennsylvania. As
yeah,
you can see, this is imbalanced court right now. The whole idea is to make sure that Judge Amy Coney Barrett is prepared enough to make a decision and fully hit the ground running. If these cases end up over there, it will, and I'm
yeah,
pretty confident it'll take some time, but it will end up there. What we need to focus on is proving the cases. These are important. That's why I keep
yeah,
saying that
yeah,
the areas where I just saw a video not too long ago in terms of a ballot box where two gentlemen were collecting bunch of bags of ballots. A video is in social media and Twitter right now. I don't know exactly which area it is, but
yeah,
I'm sure this is one of those critical areas. They were not wearing USPS shirt. They were not wearing USPS cap. They were not USPS employees. They were collecting the ballots. Where is it going to go? Who are these people?
mm,
And so you see the fraud is happening right over here. Now, what if Twitter just bans this particular video? Nobody's going to know this even happened, right?
yeah,
So so
yeah,
it's unfortunate that this we have to fight in Supreme Court. So there is at least 9 judges right now. Regardless however it goes, we see fraud in the plane right now. We must fight. That's
yeah,
what that and we everybody now, Trump campaign must focus on proving the cases. And
yeah,
that's what's going to be very difficult at this point, because several of them I wrote down, about 22 states are accepting late and extended deadlines.
yeah,
Out of it, the longest is California, which is 17 days. DC is 10 days. Illinois 14 days. All of them are Democrats. Almost majority of them are ruled by Democrats.
Yeah.
And the range is 3 days to 17 days. But some of them says they can have postmark later. Some of them can have postmark on the day.
I know.
Some of them are postmarked at the time of the poll close. Some of them are one day later, and least was Texas, which is one day. Which is, if you compare Texas and California, the similar size in terms of land.
Yeah.
And if California is taking 17 days, Texas taken one day. See the difference. Texas is ruled. It's a Republican state, right? Governor
Yeah.
is Republican. So you see the difference right here. Even if you forget everything else, Texas and California, two of the biggest states over here, and one is 1 day extension and one is 17-day extension. So you can see the massive fraud is going to come. No, Nevada, this morning they had a press conference and they said they're not going to be able to count everything until 12th of November. Wisconsin, President Trump is contesting. It is going to go into recount. We're pretty sure about it. Let's see what happens in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
There was a incident in Arizona. They were giving out this area as a Trump voters area. They were giving out Sharpies to mark the ballot. Sharpies don't get scanned in the machine. So you see the effort and attempt of.
So is that? So I was trying to understand this because over here we don't. I reckon most people listening to this, like me, we don't really understand what Sharpies are. But these are markers, aren't they?
They are. I'm trying to see if I have something right here. They're right there. One of them. Look, this is called Sharpie.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Permanent marker, and this is how. And I'll show you what happens. I mean, this is a little thick paper, so I'm not sure exactly how it will come, but you can see. Let me do this here.
And are Sharpies, are they then not recognized by the machine?
Yes. Look at what happened here.
Okay.
I just did it.
Yeah.
Peeping through.
Yeah.
So the scan machine doesn't pick up the Sharpie thing. So they were deliberately handing out Sharpie.
Right.
And
Yeah.
yes, usually it's ballpoint which picks up this one. So all these methods, and it seems they had Sharpie bowl right in front, so people will come take and mark and go, and then they had the right ones in the back, so they're not handing out. So anybody who didn't know about it, they were just cheated, basically. So these were. I mean, I'm fascinated. I'm extremely fascinated at what a country like United States were able to do, and it was only because of leftist, corrupt Democrats. And I'll repeat it again. It's because of them.
Yeah.
Because Michigan, Wayne County, they boarded out the Detroit city. They boarded out the counting office. They would not let any Trump supporters or Republicans to even watch or even hear what's going on. Things are messed up over there. USPS, Michigan, Barlow USPS has a whistleblower came out of the thing that they backtracked hand stamped ballots for the November 3rd. The election was on November 3rd. November 4th, if USPS is delivering, the ballot should have been for November 3rd postmarked, but they said the USPS were instructed to hand stamp them and backdate them for November 3rd. You see, in terms of dead voter, we talked about in Arizona, there's about 500,000 still voting ballots to be counted. It's fascinating what's happening in Wisconsin. As you said, 90% voter turnout, impossible. It's not just improbable, it's impossible.
It's impossible, it is, yeah.
And then we talk about coronavirus. Until the day of the election, the coronavirus was the major headline of every single network.
Yeah.
What did they report for the last couple of days, 48 hours? Zero. And so let's look at some of those things in terms of Wisconsin. Wisconsin is a rural area. My state is a rural area. Just the Dane County and Milwaukee County is bluest area. But at the same time, major gun owners in this country, In this, I say country, it's in Wisconsin state,
Big
right?
enough to be a country, yeah.
Now we are talking a mega country, right? We do love President Trump very much. We are talking about Second Amendment right. We're talking about carrying gun carrying ability over here. Why
Yeah,
would they vote for against President Trump?
makes no
Why
sense.
would they vote for? How would they vote for Joe Biden when
Right?
he talked about Second Amendment
Yeah,
is in a threat? Pennsylvania banning fracking. Biden and Kamala said that. Why
I
would
know.
they vote for losing jobs? Free money, I suppose. I suppose that's going to work for Green New Deal. Now you talked about Hollywood millionaires, the folks who has amount of private security, private jets. They're fighting for climate change, and unfortunately some of them like Kanye West and 50 cents, they came with President Trump. They also brought in a lot of black voters over here. I don't believe them. I don't believe what's happening over here, and it's fascinating. I think we will talk about this particular
Brilliant.
history as a part of the history at some point of in United States books. And this is I as a immigrant coming from India with little to no resources to America, one of the best country in the world. I have written a tweet, and it hurts me. America today is a third world country. America officially a corrupt third world country today. This is just out of last 24 hours. That's all.
Yeah, I come again. I mean, we're in agreement, but it's kind of horrific to see it. It's horrific to watch this being presented to us as if it's normal. This is not normal. There's nothing normal. But going back to what you said about coronavirus, you're absolutely right. That was Project Fear from February up until November the 3rd. I predict that a Biden presidency will see the end of coronavirus. I also think the country from which it came, China, at that point will have considered that's the job done. The Chinese have wrecked the global economy apart from their own. They've got Trump out of the White House with the fear of coronavirus, and they're on their way then to economic superpardom, and potentially then, if they want, using their, and we've talked about this in another stream. I've been on another stream with Purnima, folks. The Chinese can then really close down all their other things, all the other grip they've got across Africa, across the world, actually. Trump was the guy who stood up to the Chinese. Did you see what happened to Chinese currency during I mean, wasn't it amazing? So when Trump was going to win, it plummeted. When Biden then looks like the winner, it shot right up again. That's all you need to know, isn't it? I mean, just the currency movement. It's all there.
It's not just Chinese threat that we're looking at. We're looking at overall, speaking about Islamic terrorism. During Obama's time frame, we had about 80 to 100 million Somalis were implanted in Minneapolis, and then Texas is getting invaded with no borders and fighting to settle refugees over here. What happened in Paris should be a lesson for the world. Look, we are not against immigrants. We are not against any particular community either, but we are against barbarity. We are against supremacy. When they talk about white supremacy, what white supremacy? I've been here for 20 years in this country. I've never heard of that term until this election.
Yeah. Well, but that's because the left wanted to project President Trump as a racist. But as you say, he's had more people of color, be they Latinos or be they blacks, be they of every other ethnic persuasion, vote for. In fact, the only group that didn't vote for him in big numbers is white people. The vote went back a bit, is amongst some white people. So he's a strange kind of racist, isn't he?
I've seen a video coming through. A white woman was washing feet of a black person. Look, we are not there yet. Yes, this country had a racism problem, but today you don't have to go wash a black person's feet. No. These are guilty, conscious person. They're destroying the country. Everybody is equal here. I was not born in the United States, but I felt equal until Democrats planted inequality in terms of I'm a woman, I'm a person of color, I'm an Indian American, I'm a Hindu, all these divisions that came over here. Until then, there was no division. Nobody behaved with me because I was a brown woman. Nobody behaved with me like that.
Well, this is one of the reasons why I'm such a fan of Indian people and Hindu people, because it's the same in the UK, Purnima. Some of the most patriotic British people or people of Indian origin who have come to our country, integrated, accepted our laws,
Yes.
contributed, created jobs. I've met loads of them. They're lovely people. And it's the same in the US. It's the same everywhere, actually. I agree. I'm not against immigration. I believe in if you bring in good people that can create opportunity in your country, that's a good thing. But if you bring in people who want to destroy your country, then you're committing suicide as a nation.
I mean, think about it from a perspective of Indian history, British history, British US, British India history.
Yeah.
Even after that, when people went there, they were not writing against British. They were not trying to kill, Hindus were not trying to kill any British people. They, as you said, they accepted the country's laws. That's kind of the attitude we take no matter where we go. I came to this country. I chose to come to this country and accepted the country, but nobody behaved with me unnecessarily evilly for me to come and tell that, okay, because I'm a brown, I'm an Indian American, I was treated certain way. It was not there. 20 years ago it was not there. 10 years ago it was not there. It started when Obama took presidency. That was the game. They literally divided the country, implanted refugees. Today you see Joe Biden talking about 700% increment of refugee settlement. You are talking about saying that he is going to have Muslim people in every level of government. That's dangerous to me. You're Islamizing the government of the United States. Ilhan Omar, like re-elected person, as I said, why she is re-elected. She is coming out in the world and saying she needs to dismantle America. She is a refugee. America accepted her.
I know.
This land accepted her, fed her, she went to school over here, colleges over here. She came with a mentality to destroy this country. I cannot handle this. I cannot accept this brutality. I will not.
But the irony is, if you speak up against it, Purnima, you're called a racist. That's what happens.
So what this name calling is going to do to me? Stop me? Unless they come behead me, they can't stop me.
Yeah, well, you're absolutely right. But you know, Hillary Clinton, a few days ago, before the election, I think the day before, whatever, or maybe during election day, she said that this won't be over until every vote is counted. She chose her words very carefully. Yeah. Every vote, not every legal vote, just every vote. And that's exactly what's happened. And I agree with you, Purnima. The Republican Party should understand the enemy. They need, Trump's showing courage and spine and backbone, but a lot of those people, the GOP, a lot of them are weak. And they've been happy to use him to be the front man. Yes. But this is the moment, because if they don't support him, then I honestly do think that America will be lost, because the Democrats will stack the court. They will do all the things that they do exactly what they say. That's the thing.
It's because they're going to change the rule. They have been changing the rule throughout this entire 4 years. If it doesn't fit their bill, they are changing the rule. And they have, in the court, they have stacked pretty much every court with activist judges who does not have any kind of respect for the Constitution of America. They actually wants to change. They're not the rule changer. We have policy makers, we have senators, we have representatives. That's their job. Their job is to change policy if something doesn't work. Yeah. It's not right or moral, whatever the criteria is. However, these judges are changing rules. So we are changing the entire constitution. The separation of power is getting attacked. And the way I feel that President Trump is truly fighting all alone, but we are the people fighting with him as well. I see some of those names like Representative Jim Jordan, Matt Gaetz. They did talk. They really do understand. And the new people who came into the Congress, I'm not talking about Mitt Romney type of rhinos
No.
who and Paul Ryan type of rhinos. They should not be elected again. And,
Yeah.
to me, that this is dangerous. They attacked the country from a party base, and the party doesn't even know what the country wants. So,
You're absolutely right. We sort of getting to the end of things, but on a cheerful note, I see somebody's put up the comment. Can you imagine the embarrassment of a Biden inauguration ceremony? Come on, man! Come on, man! You know,
man. Come on, man. Look, I have nothing against age. Everybody ages. It's a natural process. But however,
yeah.
putting this person who has clearly have dementia issue, clearly has issues in terms of coherent sentence, but forgets about where he is not, what position he's running for. Twice he said he's running for Senate. That's sad for a 77-year-old.
I agree.
To go through that kind of scrutiny. Media tried very much to suppress that kind of issues, but it's his name is getting abused. Mr. Dr. Jill Biden has abused her husband as well. It's sad to see what he's going through. At the end of the day, we all must understand Joe Biden is not going to rule. If at all Democrats win in this case, it's Kamala Harris. Joe Biden is going to be taken off. They're going to inflict 25th Amendment and say is that he is incapable of running. And right away, it is going to be Kamala Harris. And we are looking at a massive, corrupted, one-sided narrative, a Iran and a China to be right here. That's what I expect. But I'm still I'm still confident that President Trump and we, the people, are going to fight against this massive corruption and fraud.
Well, I think that's a positive note, actually, to bring things to an end, Purnima. I really, really hope that you're right. I spoke last night to a couple of U.S. pastors, one of whom I know has been in the White House with President Trump, and they also had some hope. So I think that the balancing act in this one is to try and not be seduced by the propaganda defeatism of the media. I think that's important. Yes. I think social media is a bit better. You can navigate your way through that. But I think we all have to support you, the American people, President Trump and all those around him. I hope he fights this all the way. I hope he stays in the White House. I don't want him to leave that White House one day before it's been proven that every vote was legitimate and legal. I think that's a kind of
you see one quick point. It's every war in the history of our existence. It's like a David and Goliath. The Democrats have the media, their party, the fundings, the USPS Postal Service, and pretty much all the evil forces with them. But the winner was David. Winner was not Goliath. So we must understand that, yes, it's a David and Goliath war, and we will win. It will take a little bit of time. We have to keep the faith. We have to fight against this massive corruption. We cannot let them win.
And Brian says, great show, David. I could listen to Purnima all night. Listen, it's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure to have you on. Thanks very much for coming on at such short notice. But these are such important times that it's really important for us people on this side of the Atlantic to hear from actual Americans, people right at the heart of all of this, because your voice is the most important one. And you can follow Purnima on Twitter. You can also find her at her website, nathpurnima.com. You can find her over there. She's an excellent voice for America, for Hindus, for India, Such a pleasure to.
Executive, thank you for having me. By the way, Facebook is shutting me down. They have flagged my page. They are not letting me invite it to anybody. If I put a post, it doesn't get the reach. So they're trying, but I'll keep talking. We'll find a way to
Oh, we will.
the
We will.
message. We'll find a way. We are
It's
we are David at this point, but I know the winner is with the good and with the truth. So I'm willing to put my neck out there and stand for the truth, with President Trump until the end. It is not the end until it is end, and until every vote, every legal vote is counted, and we will fight. I'm pretty sure we're going to win. I'm pretty sure President Trump will win. And with that message, I think I would like everybody
great.
to be positive. It'll take time. Stay positive.
That's wonderful. We'll all stay the course. I'm a literal David as well as a metaphorical David. So, I certainly will be having every hope that what you're saying is right, and that's what we're going to see. But Purnima, real pleasure to spend an hour with you. Thanks again. I hope to speak to you again because I think we're going to have a very interesting month or two. So, look, it's been a pleasure to bring you on the stream. Some lovely comments from some of the people here. So I think they've all valued your insight as well. And speak with you soon. But that's it from me, folks, for now. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you, Purnima, for being on the stream. And we'll catch up with each other soon. Bye for now.